tallest building in the state of Georgia in the last 30 years, over on 10th Street. It'll be a 62-tower building, residential, commercial, and retail. We're already at the 30th floor, which is very exciting. It'll also have the highest suspended swimming pool. It'll be on the 20th floor. I've been with Turner for 20 years, and you're like, okay, well, what does this got to do with AI? AI has changed my industry, and I'm deeply curious on how it affects nonprofits. We had a great discussion on the phone earlier this week, and I think one of the things that they touched upon is you've got to run your nonprofit like a for-profit. And I'm going to have each one of our panelists introduce themselves because they're extremely qualified in this realm, and I think you're going to get plenty of great nuggets. So I'm going to have Gopal Narasimhan.
Okay, I'm Gopal Narasimhan. I'm the Chief Digital and Technology Officer at Hope Credit Union and Hope Enterprise Corporation. We've got multiple pieces to our portfolio. One is a credit union, one is a loan fund, and we primarily focus on bringing financial opportunities to underserved populations in 5 states, in Georgia, in Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. And I've been with Hope for about a year. Prior to that, I was with FedEx for about close to 20 years. I was the Vice President of Digital Product there prior to moving on to Hope. So my main goal is how do I take technology and all of the great things that we're going to talk about from an AI standpoint and get that to people that have been, for the lack of a better word, just left behind, both from an economic perspective as well as all the opportunities. If technology doesn't help them climb the financial ladder, then I think they'll be left behind forever. So that's my goal, to help technology build the financial bridges for people and drive them towards savings, home ownership, wealth creation, things of that nature.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Kayla Life, and in short, I build and brand for social good through my agency, the Rebrand Creative Agency, aka RebrandLand. We work with over 500 nonprofits over the course of 5 years, and what we understand is that nonprofit technology sucks. So what we've decided is to stop implementing bad technology and build better tech. So our first AI is called Krystal AI. She helps you not only secure funding, but scale your funding by reporting your impact effectively. And you can find out more about that at RebrandLand.net. And I love to talk all things AI. I love to talk all things impact. So if you need me, I'm here.
Nice. Morgan Koth, Big G Labs. We do software development. Also on the other side, we have businesses that we invest in. And one of the businesses that I have personally is a mental health business that we've had IP commercialized at Ohio State University. Within that, it is a for-profit, but I don't know if you guys have ever worked with education. They don't have any money, so it basically it's a nonprofit. And so with that, it's given me the opportunity to learn about raising money, grants, donations, to help facilitate the mental health and wellness of 15,000 students that we have on our platform. So with that, not only do we facilitate the software that we put into our own program and platform and help build, we use AI, but we also have to show outcomes, right? And so coming from a for-profit company, where we have to get money in from donors, acting like a nonprofit company, because it really doesn't make any money, but understanding that I have other companies and I run it like a for-profit. So that's where I'm going to help hopefully understand you guys, or help understand your questions and help tell you what it is that we do and how we do it. Because at the end of the day, they want to know, the people that are giving you money want to know the outcomes that you're providing to the people that you say you're helping. That's at the end of the day. Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Clarence Anthony Jr. I'm the Workforce Development Manager for the Partnership for Inclusive Innovation, PIN for short, at Georgia Tech. So we function as a nonprofit in our operations and are in the process of moving towards or going in the direction of becoming a social enterprise. And so as we kind of make that transition, we're often thinking about how we can use platforms better, how we can use technology better to help us to boost our operations and become more efficient. And so I'll be able to kind of speak to that point.
Wonderful. So as you can see, they have all the knowledge that they're gonna impart. So, question, as we talk about doing more with less, how can AI tools help nonprofits increase operational efficiencies? And I'll go Paul.
Yeah, I think I look at my role as doing two things. One is how do you bring new revenue and expand the funnel for the nonprofit or for the company that we run, and then drive operational efficiency. And I'll share one example. You got to use data effectively, and I think in today's world, data is everything. Data is the new oil, or you've heard all these terms. But you gotta pick some small use cases to kind of show what's possible. And then one of the things we did was we used to send every month a board a 55-page deck, which took about 10 man days to prepare and copious amount of hours trying to do quality checks and things like that. We just made that into a Power BI dashboard. So just pull all the data so people don't have to write the queries themselves, but the dashboard writes the queries and it's going to you build the right pipelines, you set the right data ecosystem. So that was a very highly visible project that showed the organization what data can do. And then I have about 100 things they've asked me to do this year based on just that visible example. That's so, because the board and all of the executive team were involved in it. So that's one example. You can look for small things but meaningful things that provide the impetus for the investments that, yes, there isn't much money going around in a nonprofit because you got to raise it anyway. But if you show the right use cases, then you can make, a dollar, get $10 of benefit for the dollar of investment.
Kayla, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, of course. But first let me set a baseline here. When I talk AI, I am 10% of the time talking about ChatGPT, okay? ChatGPT is an AI, but AI is not chat, okay? So there's a number of different things that you can use, a number of different tools that you can use to help you scale your operations, but you have to understand the foundation of your actual operation first. If you don't understand how your volunteers are coming in or how your staff is coming in, if you don't have SOPs, if you don't have these things written down, there's no use for you even getting AI, right? Because now you're just scrambling with a brand new shiny toy, right? And you don't have anything to feed that information. So I will say, before you start taking a look at AI, take a look at your own internal processes and say, if I can do this or hire another human being to do this, that I can probably get an AI to make this thing happen on its own, right? But it's not to replace that human behavior. It's not to say that this is AI model is now going to replace this human, because someone still has to operate it. Someone still has to pass the logins out. Someone still has to make sure it's updated. Someone still has to monitor. So you still have a need for that human behavior in your operations, but you have to first make sure your AI is going to even be compatible to do so. There's a number of different tools that you can use. For us internally, we do offer building out these custom chat models for our clients, right? If that's what they're using, right? We start you slow, right? But if you are a nonprofit that has a larger budget, right? We have built in internal local systems that's not attached to a ChatGPT or not attached to anyone's open API or anything of that nature to make that happen. But you have to first decide what that looks like, right? One of the ways that we've been using it here lately is with volunteers. Most of the people that work in nonprofits, especially at the beginning to mid-size level, volunteer work, right? I think we were talking about it earlier, like, I'm doing this thing, but I ain't getting no money for this. But that's okay, right? You take a look at the pieces of your organizations that you can say an AI can handle this piece. So with that volunteer model, we've taken organizations that bring in volunteers and taking a look at the process of the volunteers, how they come in, how many times they're volunteering. Is it just like a one-off project? Are these everyday volunteers? Are they coming in all the time? Is this an actual position that someone's volunteering for? Those are the type of things that we look at and say, okay, how can we feed this to an AI to train that new person when they come in, right? So it's the same way that if you guys ever heard of Trainual, have you used that software before? You have, right? No? Trainual, I just taught you something new. Trainual is a yeah, take those notes. Trainual is a tool that is an AI tool that will help you generate your SOPs, right? So your standard operating procedures for your organization, and it keeps it all in the same platform. You can add videos to it, you can add text to it, but when someone comes in to the actual organization, you send them that Trainual, and they train themselves, and then you come back and say, okay, I see that you've gotten 80% on this. Let's figure out what holes you've missed, right? But in order for you to actually be a part of our organization. So there's a number of different ways you can use it, but I go back to make sure you have the foundation first so you know exactly what you're putting into the AI.
So, Morgan, can you expand on that?
No,
What are
I
some-
can't expand on that. You got to be crazy. You won't expand on that.
What
No,
are some,
I can add some different stuff in a different way. So we had a good lunch. So when I think, so in my own company that I had, it was about, we had a lot of data. And we created a GPT for that data. And to be able to understand trends and successes that we were having and successes that they were having and opportunities that we could show that could be made. So understanding that there are tools out there to be able to, because a lot of nonprofits have a lot of data and they're not doing anything with that data that's meaningful. So again, it comes down to, you've got to show that you're providing some sort of solution to something. So I'm giving you $1 to go help somebody. Show me that you're helping somebody and I'll give you another $1, right? Because it makes it easier to sell. It makes it easier to sell. Again, because you're all going back, if you have nonprofits, you're all going back to the well to get that $10,000. And $10,000 is hard to get because now people are fighting budgets, right? It's almost easier to get $1 million than it is to get $10,000 if you've ever tried. So go for the big dollars, not the little dollars, because it's the same amount of time. So that's one thing. There you go, that was free too.
Yeah.
Go after the big money because it's the same amount of time. Same amount of time. But anyways, back to that. So you're going back to that well to go get that $10,000, $20,000, whatever it is, right? And they're like, okay, but at some point, I know you do, because I felt it. You're like, did I show enough? Right? So now, ChatGPT, Gemini, Google Notebooks, whatever you're using, use the free stuff. Most of you probably on Gmail, right? You're probably on Workspace, right?
Yeah.
So use it. And Google Notebooks is fantastic. I don't know if it's fantastic. And it can do a lot of these things for you. And you're already paying for it. And if you got it in your own system, it's locked up. So usually foundations you don't have to worry about HIPAA for the most part, unless you're into medical stuff. But for the most part, you're not, right? So use that and create data points and show trends and say, hey, these are the outcomes that we're having. This is what we've done, and here are the outcomes based on that. And you can make beautiful AI. I don't know if you guys have used beautiful AI. Canva's now getting into it too. Beautiful AI gives you great presentations, right? But you don't go with 55 pages. Nobody wants to read 55. They're not reading 55 pages.
Beautiful AI make me look like Beyonce?
It could, yeah. There you go. You already do. You don't need that. You don't need that. The point is there's things out there that you can use your data that you already have to show outcomes, make it beautiful, make it pretty. So next time you go up and you're sending those monthly, and I don't know why people don't do this either, but you should, send out monthly reports. Here's what we're doing. And AI can do that stuff for you too. You've got the data now. Say, hey, this is what we did. These are the volunteers we used. This is what it cost. This is what our outcome was. And here's what's going on. They love that stuff. So next time you go in the quarter or the annual, whatever you do with your fundraising, now you got them to show them. And they've already been tick, 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 drip, 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 drip. It's like a drip campaign. We do it in marketing. You do it in your private business. Do it in foundations. Do it in, you don't do it. They don't do it. They're just like, we'll do our thing. We got fun. They're not keeping track of anything. But you have to, because the world is changing. Grants are drying up. The government's not giving money out like it should. Private companies are hurting right now, right? Or they don't know that they're hurting. They might not be. Who knows? But they're not giving money. So you've got to go there and say, hey, I've got this. This is what you've done. Look what all the stuff that you've done. Remember we talked about this? Remember the things that you were excited about us doing? We accomplished it. We even accomplished it more. Look at it. You've got to show them. So that's what AI can do that. You just got to get the right prompts. That's a whole different conversation.
I'll stamp that as an organization that has the philanthropic arm. Nothing is worse than when I give money to an organization and then they ghost me. And I don't hear them again until they come out with their hand. I don't know what you did with the money. I haven't. Maybe you've sent me a couple of newsletters that really didn't say anything except it listed other people that gave. That is actually the key. And if you can use AI tools to keep me informed of all the things that you're doing and the metrics and how my dollar went, then that's a whole lot easier for me than to go back and go, we need to continue to give to this organization.
And on top of that, so just go into ChatGPT, go into Gemini, whatever you use, and just say, how does a startup communicate to a board or communicate to a VC that just gave them money? And and it's gonna give you boom, boom, boom. Because that's what you need to do. As a startup, you're going out to get VC. You're going out to get venture capital, private equity, whatever it is, right? Don't do that if you're a startup. This is number one, but we're in a different type of conversation. So don't do that. But if you do, right, and you get the money, you have to tell them what you're doing. You have to say, this is what I'm doing with your money. And you have to say, okay, and then they look back and say, okay, so when you go back to Series A, B, C, there's a reason why they're giving you more money.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how you have to treat it, because these nonprofits are like, oh, I don't have to do anything, but to a point. I mean, yes, you do, because at some point, they don't care anymore. Because
They never cared.
they never cared, but now they really don't
They
care.
really
because,
don't care.
because it was about a relationship to begin with you, and
Right.
now they don't know you really, and
Yeah.
they just like, now you're just like using them. They feel, people, it's a person. They feel used. Don't make them feel used. Make them feel important, and show them the faces and show them the outcomes. This is who you helped.
So Clarence, can you provide any success stories having utilized AI solutions?
Yeah, and I mean, just kind of piggybacking on what a lot has been said so far, we really just first kind of think about what our needs are within our organization and what our capabilities are. And so what we are all very good at is like business development and or programming or whatnot, so program planning. What we struggle with and what most of us on our team don't have a background in is marketing. So a lot of what's been talked about is messaging, and so we at any point would have either current funders, old new funders that we're trying to go for, and then also the different types of funders within that. So congressional earmarks, federal grants, philanthropy, and then also corporate sponsors as well too. And all of those different stakeholders have different motivations and or things that are important to them.
Right.
And so we've been using over the past couple of months a number of different platforms to help us to make our programs function a lot more efficiently, but then also to be aggressive in going towards funding. So we kind of talked about the large language models and chat GPTs and things of that nature when, you know, it might be a long day and, you know, perhaps you've been working for already at this point 9 hours and you might have had a whole day of meetings, your, you know, brain power is a little bit low. You kind of just put in a lot of some of the things that you might be trying to communicate to a specific audience. So private equity, if you do that, or a certain type of funder. So we use mostly Gemini in our grant proposals. That I think has been, you know, really helpful because it, one, helps us to better position what our potential solution might be, but then also use that to appeal towards the motivations of the funder. The second thing we kind of have done and we're that we've done in the past is, so we have different programs that focus on different populations. And so an example of that for us within workforce development is the Penn Fellowship. And my goal is to match one person, a potential worker, program participant, with 2 different organizations. And in order to do that, I have to give each organization about 5 people to interview. This year, we have 28 projects, so you just do the math in terms of how matching might go. So what we're looking to do in the future is to use, you know, kind of programs like what you described that help to, it's not necessarily in onboarding people, but in helping people to be matched with different projects based on the skill requirement and the skill set of the potential program participant. Moving forward, I think in the future, so one thing we do benefit from is that we are a part of Georgia Tech and we benefit from the infrastructure and a lot of the platforms that they have access to. And so we want to use teams more efficiently in our operations. And as you might imagine, so at least for us, we're very fast paced. We have a lot of things that are up in the air. I think we're gonna have some student assistants that kind of build out pathways to where if we type into Teams, you know, to do meeting with Kayla, to do, you know, presentation X, Y, and Z, whatever the task might be, it creates a task in Microsoft Planner and or potentially sets up a meeting through email. And that's like one less thing that I gotta worry about. It's like, oh, what did my boss say about 5 minutes ago? I have to, set up this meeting. So that's kind of, how we've been successful so far and what we want to do in the future.
Can I give you an AI tool?
Huh?
Can I give you an AI tool?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
full
go
of
for it.
AI tools.
Yeah,
y'all.
go for it.
I play with AI in my sleep sometimes. So Fixer AI, Fixer with a Y. Fixer with a Y. Fixer AI is a AI that literally goes into your email system, and as soon as someone sends you an email, it'll draft a response. It'll tell you if this is important. It categorizes it and puts it on different labels.
Right.
It'll tell you if this meeting needs to be scheduled. Do you want to schedule a meeting for you? It'll do all of it. Fixer AI, Fixer with a Y, came out of London. It's probably only like a couple of months old, honestly. It just came up, but it's good.
FYSTER.
Fixer.
FYXER.
I'm about to put that one in too.
Yeah, in general, my goal is to reduce like the amount of decisions I have to make in a day, and so something
Yeah.
like that.
That's everything.
definitely.
Yeah. On top of that, and I know what my friend Morgan here said, use the free tools. I'm going to push back and say don't use the free version. Pay the $20, okay?
No, I absolutely agree, but sometimes they're just,
Sometimes you ain't got it, right?
400 times 20, 400 tools times $20.
yeah.
I feel that, right? Which is
Or
the issue that we're
1,400
solving
tools.
here. The issue that we're solving here, so you don't have to do all that. But for now, use the $20 tool for Claude, okay?
And I would say the $20 tool for ChatGPT too.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, you could have one login for a couple people
Mm-hmm.
and just have we talk about it in the professional world, right? Don't tell me that.
But that feeds into actually the next question.
Yeah.
If I'm starting, what are some of the AI tools that a nonprofit really should either invest in or look at if we're worried about free because of the data leak and information that we have to share? I'll ask each one of you, what would be the one tool that you think that they really should delve into or invest in for their organization?
I'll give two answers. Because I'm a financial institution, I have a lot of compliance related things, so I can't just do stuff. And even data, we try to keep some of the data within our servers as opposed to do things on the cloud. So, if I go down that path, it's going to be a little bit of a hurdle for me to give you answers. So within our shop, we have implemented the Llama Stack, which is the distributed platform on which underneath it we have multiple LLMs. We're still trying to figure out what is good for what. So we're looking at Google LLMs, we're looking at Microsoft LLMs, we're looking at Facebook's LLMs, and then we're picking and choosing what is the right thing for the right use case. Like for example, an AI grant writer is something that we are, that's taking a lot of time away. It takes a lot of time, and I think we talked about the different personas that we are interacting with, whether it's federal, whether it's private funder, corporate funder, everybody has different requirements, but you can train the model with all of the things that you've done over the last 10, 20 years, and then it's beautiful because you still would need to edit it, but you get a 80% start from which you can make the minor modifications that you want to have. So we're developing like an AI policy. We got to get it developed, ratified by the board, a third-party review, audit, all of that, because we're a financial institution. We got to keep the data and money secure. So I'll park that for a second. But somebody starting off, from this, I think I would start with what both of them said right now is use the paid version of ChatGPT, Gemini, and whatever it is. Beautiful AI is wonderful for presentations. Perplexity is good to dabble in as well. I feel like Perplexity.ai is pretty cool. What I would do is ask the same question to multiple LLMs. Which is what I'm doing with the Llama Stack within the company, letting the AI ask the question to other LLMs, but you can do that yourself and then pick and choose what you want, because in some use cases, some are going to be better. In other use cases, others are going to be better. If you're trying to develop images, obviously there's a whole set of things. If you're trying to develop presentations, there's a whole set of things. But I would encourage you to look at, and you can ask an LLM saying, what is a better LLM? Like what can I use for this? So ChatGPT will give you 5. But the more you experiment, the more you get information around what's good for what use cases. And then you can, but again, I'll tell you, that's something every second month or even 2 weeks later that changes.
Yeah.
she's talking about something that came out 2 weeks ago. But that's the pace at which this is moving. But it's fun if you want to have fun with it. And then you can develop some SOPs within your organizations to say, okay, use this for this, use that for that. But what I would recommend is, taste and sample everything. You don't know what's going to taste better for you, would be my recommendations.
Yeah, Kayla, love that. Okay, so two-part question, right? This is the first time I'm going to sell you. The only time I'm going to sell you today. Okay, use Krystal. Use Krystal, my AI. So, grantglow.com, Krystal acts as your grant strategist. She helps you find the grants online. You can use that for free right now. Grantglow.com, she scours the internet. It's not pulling from a database. She's just scouring the internet for any available grants. She's pulling them up for you, and you can apply for them directly right there, right? It'll take you straight to the website. If you pay for the pro version of the account,
What's it
that's
called? Krystal?
Krystal, that's her name.
Krystal.
That's with a K, Krystal with a K. Named after my mom and for the C. There's a whole nother storytelling we'll get into a little bit later. But Krystal AI that's what's powering GrantGlow right now. She works as your grant strategist. She'll help you find the grants and you can apply for them. If you pay for the pro version, you get unlimited searches and the grant writing application. How that works is that when you onboard yourself into the system, Krystal's asking a whole bunch of questions about your organization. You can upload any documentation, strategic plans, budgets, things of that nature, and she's getting all that information to compile either a grant application for that specific grant you're applying for or a letter of intent, right? So either or you can choose from for those two. With that being said, I should also mention that inside of our AI models, we built what we call a third-party mask layer that anonymizes your data before it hits the actual AI. So instead of it saying something like Kayla from the Rebrand Creative Agency is seeking to engage donor John Smith who gave $50,000, it'll say to that AI model, user A from organization A is working with donor A that gave $50,000, right? So keeping your data safe and secure. So that's my one sell for today. GrantGlow.com, use Krystal as your grant strategist on that matter. Now, I will now flip to the other side of what's already out there. I call them the Power 3, okay? And just as my friend said here, you can use different AIs for different things to do different things, and you can ask that AI how to help you, right? If you don't know how to use it, any AI model, how do I use you? And it'll tell you, right? And then ask it, like use your brain piece right here, that critical thinking, talk to it like a conversation, like I want to use you, you're new to me, we're friends, let's build a relationship, right? Like, and I start talking to the AI. I use both ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity synonymously all the time, right? Perplexity is your research model. You're not going to use that to have conversations or build outlines for you. But if you are, especially with impact reporting, if you want to figure out how to report your impact effectively, go into a Perplexity and ask them about other organizations that are doing something like you and what their impact reports look like. Wow. Impact reports are supposed to be online.
I think the Google deep research now is better than Perplexity in terms of the coming out of the
For legal reasons, I can't say that because I'm a Perplexity business fellow. So, but yes, there's a whole bunch of deep researchers out there, right? But for the sake of my sponsorship, Perplexity is what you should use, as well as Claude and ChatGPT. Now, Claude and Chat are kind of similar, but not the same, right? And no shade to my minute here, but Claude was built by a woman, so the conversation is a little bit different, right? It is what it is. And what Chat will do with you is give you an outline. I would take that outline from Chat and put it into Claude and say, improve it.
I never thought to use AI with AI.
Yeah, use AI to teach you AI to build AI. Like you can do it all the time. I do it all the time.
You should do that all the time.
Especially with Beautiful. I love Gamma. Gamma is another AI that does presentations and does presentations, websites, does all these different type of things to help you. So I would use those tools if you're not using a Krystal.
Morgan, what you got?
Come on, girl.
You want to expand on that?
Clarence and I down at this end, I mean, we'll just be
Follow
sitting in
that
that front row.
I want to poke her because I think she's AI. What the heck?
I would say use Krystal.
Yeah. Sound right.
I would say Krystal is the best thing that's out there. Matter of fact, everybody that uses
Krystal with a
it
K, by the way,
Krystal with
just being clear.
Yeah.
All on YouTube. You'll see that later on TikTok. Your kids are scrolling, you're gonna hear that.
Yeah. I would just follow up with what they're saying. And budgets are trimmed and they're slim. So if you're using Google Workspace, use it to its fullest. Get on Google Notebook LLM, create your own notebook. Use Gemini, create your own gem now they have them, which is just like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is great. I use both of those regularly. It goes back to me, it's like, what are you doing again to create things that are saving your people time and able to get money. That's at the end of the day, you've gotta help people and you gotta get money. That's it, you're just helping people get money. You're getting money, you're helping people. That's what you're doing. It talks what Clarence was talking about, it goes to marketing, right? Think of yourself as, I'm a marketing, I gotta market myself, I gotta sell. Because people get into, I think sometimes, into nonprofits because they feel like they don't wanna sell. But that's literally all you're doing, is selling. And so how do you sell better? You use these tools to sell better. So with Google, if you're using Google, if you're not using Google, then use ChatGPT, but you can put your data in there, because a lot of things that you guys do, you work on spreadsheets, right? But you have data that's not in spreadsheets, right? It might be all from different places. It might be in an email, it might be somebody telling you things, and you gotta type it in somewhere, right? You got a document. Take that document, put it into Google Gemini, say I need a spreadsheet based on this information, tell me the trends about this information, you're done, right? So use these things to get the data that you need to create the spreadsheet, to create the marketing piece that you can once a month send to the people that are giving you money and say, this is what's happening. Again, it goes all back to selling. You're selling your outcomes that you've created because of donors that are giving you money. So the cheapest way to do that is the things that you're already using. And yes, you should use the free ones. I mean, you should use the paid ones. But if you don't, okay, you're gonna get a little bit less output on the free ones. So if you have $20, pay the $20 and maybe get 3 people on it. And get a, but you could have a support at gmail.com for whatever it is, or whatever you have, right? And just say, hey, 3 people, we've got this is the, whatever it is, the login, right? So have those things, have those workspaces, and that's the cheapest way to do it.
And Clarence, what can't you live without?
Yeah, I mean, just to be real short, I mean, I think I kind of just like referred to the idea that one of my goals is to reduce the amount of decisions that I have to make in a day, but then also reduce like my to-do list on a day-to-day basis. And I think they've all mentioned a lot of great examples, and Gemini is one of the things that I probably use almost on a daily basis. But 2 things that aren't necessarily new, but I think the way that we're seeking to use them, is helping us in the direction that we want to go into. So communicating our value to funders and things of that nature. So Constant Contact is a platform that we use pretty extensively for marketing, but it also has an AI component that I think we're hoping to use that focuses on like segmenting the different audiences, and then also developing the content that we might push out. And then they mentioned like scheduling as well too, so that helps us to be a bit more efficient, and so we're able to plan ahead and not necessarily run around like our heads are on fire all the time. But the second thing is also Salesforce as well too, so that's not a new thing, but I think the way that we're seeking to use it is to automate our workflows a bit more. And so I might have mentioned that a key part of my job now is business development, and formerly it was program management. And so now my role is becoming a lot more about the sales component and building relationships and things of that nature. And so tracking that and tracking those engagements and what stage they're in has become very important. And so that is how we're seeking to use Salesforce as we move forward in becoming a social enterprise.
Yeah, that goes back into like a sales pipeline.
Yeah.
If you you guys are companies, you gotta have a sales pipeline, and you gotta have a CRM. And back to the free stuff, you don't need Salesforce. Google now has a pretty good template for CRM. So there's some free-ish things out there. The Salesforce can get expensive.
Yeah.
Just like all these things, it's $20 a pop per person.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like that's the going rate. And you can do a BAA with Google, so if you need to do a HIPAA compliant, you can do that. There's those things too.
But you could also get Google for nonprofits for free, which automatically gives you Gemini for free, Google AI Studio for free.
Yeah.
So we'll talk later, but I can show you how to get your emails and things for free with Google and Microsoft. They will give it to you for free.
And I think for Salesforce also has a non-profit side to it. So
Yeah, but it
might be
sucks,
a
and
little
we're
bit
not
more
using
Yeah, we're gonna take
I think also
questions
like
now.
to your point, I think Clarence, right?
Yeah.
I think anything, because I worked in content management for a very long time, and we have like a content management tool that we've created, but like you have to have something from a content management side that allows you to get your content out, right? So people can know who you are as a influencer, right?
Mhm.
Get your pictures out automatically, and it's something that you can automate so that you don't have time to do that, right? Get your videos out, be able to put that content out so that you can appeal more, right, to your audience, right, to your donors, to the people who you want. And once you automate those processes, which we've kind of done with our customers, it allows you to spend less time there. You feed it what you need to feed for the next few weeks, and then guess what? Now you can focus more on getting more money from your representatives and getting more money from your, potential partners. So that's something that's super important. Like I worked in content management for years, so we were like, how can we optimize the content journey a lot more for influencers? So all those things are super important as we were talking about.
What are you using to automate content?
We have our own tool. So we've created our own tool. I worked in development for a long time. I worked within AEM for a very long time. So we created something to optimize what that content kind of journey looks like. So we can really kind of push it out for influencers, especially within different spaces like nonprofit, for people who are really just trying to get their information out at mass rates.
Nice.
Cool.
Do we have any other questions from the audience?
Front row. Oh, look at that.
Yes, sir.
Question for you. So when you chose the llama stack, like what was the decision, like what was the justification behind that between going off shelf versus like a custom solution?
So for us, we wanted to keep everything on premises.
Yeah.
We didn't want to move the data to the cloud, and we might down the line, but we are worried about data leakage, right? So we looked at, distributed LLM stacks that we could use and we could build, so we built a whole stack underneath it with Ubuntu and right from a coding perspective and so on and so forth. Just the ability for us to go to different pieces, and we could move, because the way it works is they're not going to update the model, they're just going to come up with a new model, right? So they don't, you don't need to update anything, you just have to swap models when they come up with GPT-3, GPT-4, you got to take GPT-4 and plug it in. We just wanted to find a starting point. We might change it 6 months from now, but for now, we are pretty happy with the Llama stack to start with and have a bunch of LLMs underneath it and play and test and expose different users to different use cases and then see which one sticks.
In your org is it CDFI, right?
Yes, we are a CDFI as well.
We all talk about, I think the topic is do more with less resource here. Doing a lot of play around different platform models and all the tools. How are you thinking about enabling your limited resource internally to kind of do and almost learn how to fish themselves versus like from maybe top-down ideas in using AI in their work?
I think that goes to Morgan's point about like buying one user login, but I'm gonna kind of give addition to that value, right? Instead of buying one user login for your models, right? And I'm gonna go with our fave chat, just for instance. Instead of buying one user, go and create a custom GPT that has all of your information for your organization and share that GPT with your team, right? This is what I do all the time with my team and my clients because I don't have time for a lot of questions,
So
right?
they make it public?
Yeah, well, it's public for our internal system.
Right, but they have to pay for it and they have to get it. No?
You share that custom GPT, it's shared.
It's shared to everybody on.
So like.
To whoever has a link.
So
You
whoever
can
has a
publish
link.
it, right?
Yeah, you can publish it.
That's what I'm saying, you
your
made it
GPT.
public though.
It's
No.
basically your
Only,
own,
but
right?
only with the people with the link.
Only with the people with the
Right,
link.
if they shared it to another person, they would have it.
They would have it, right?
Right.
But this goes into, I used to be a teacher. I worked in education for over 15 years, right? The same models that I did in education, same things I'm doing in my business.
Yeah.
You have to have a technology agreement, right? Like I have an agreement with my team that if I'm sharing them AI tools or I'm sharing them AI models, they cannot go and share that with someone else. And if I find out because I check the usage, I'm going to know, and there will be a penalty for that, right? There will be some kind of reprimand. So this goes back into having your foundational system in place to make sure that if you're going to use these AI models, you are prepared for them. We have an AI policy inside of our organization that determines how not only we use AI, but how they are allowed to use AI, right? If it was just that easy for you to go in and create me a marketing plan, I could have done it myself. I still want your own brain power when you're handing me this thing. AI should be used to help speed it up, right? Not to replace your brain at all, because I hired you for your brain. I could have paid $20 for the chat. I needed that, right? But that's one way, right? Create a custom GPT with your information, share that custom with your organization so they don't ask you a bunch of questions. At this point, the only time that I get questions is something that they really need to ask me, and it cannot be sent by the AI, right? But if you're filling out something, you're like, what is our full mission? Ask the AI. The AI knows it's gonna tell you. But I also have provided with my same team prompts, right, to use with that AI model, right? So if you are looking on how to, and this is, I'm thinking about our sales team, right? If you're looking on, like, if someone's asking you a question about our services, go into that AI, go into that chat, ask about the service. It should give you something like this, but you still should give your own kind of personality, right? It shouldn't sound so robotic. So those are the kind of things that you can do with the limited resources to make happen. But I'm also going to, once again, I lied, I'm gonna tell you one more time. So Krystal, Krystal is two parts, right? We have her in two different sections. One is the grant portal where she can be your grant strategist. And the second is our CRM for impact strategy, right? So with that CRM, and I said what I said, Salesforce sucks for nonprofits. It's terrible, right? You've got to hire somebody to come in here and build it for you. Then it's built wrong. Now you wasted money and time. You still don't have what you need. What we've done with Krystal is make her out of the box ready to use. So as soon as you onboard yourself into the system, you can get active, right? That same grant search that you have on Grant Glow is inside the system, but now what it's doing is pulling from your knowledge base to only pull up grants that are available to you and that you're the strongest fit for. It'll also then tell you from you managing your program based on, participant feedback, because I told you I'm an impact strategist. I want to make sure you're getting your impact right. Make sure from your feedback loops, anything that the participants are saying, your staff is saying, is all being measured by this AI, and she's going to give you actionable insights on what to do next. So not just giving you a list like Salesforce will do and say, oh, your funding's low. Okay, now what? What am I supposed to do with that, right? Krystal will say something to you like, your funding is getting low for this program. It's time to create a campaign. This is what it should look like. Right? Nice. And our ecosystem, right, that we're building will allow you to now push that information to the next AI model, Nomi, who's our event networking and fundraising AI, and she'll execute that campaign for you. Right?
Oh, Krystal and Nomi are fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you. So we've got 7 AIs that we're building, right? But Krystal is the one that's up and running. I would challenge you to take a look at that. That is HeyKrystal.ai. Do not pay attention to the pricing plans. You're going to see it. It's going to be like, don't worry about it, okay? I'm fixing it. I'm working on it. It wasn't me. It was. But I'm going to fix it, right? Don't worry about it. But we're going to make sure that CRM is equitable for people to use. And then we also provide a lot more support with impact reporting. So if you're looking on figuring out how to get your organization grant ready, you've been trying to get funding before, we have accelerator programs, all that type of stuff that can help. And a lot of free resources on our YouTube as well.
And I just want to I'm going to add to that.
Please.
So what you said, there's some tidbits in there that I don't want you guys to gloss over. Prompt engineering. Have a database for prompts.
That's what I do.
A lot of companies don't do that. They have one person in there writing some prompts and coming up with some fantastic stuff and be like, okay, cool. And everybody's like, oh yeah, I don't know, how'd you get that outcome? Right? Well, prompt engineering, in my opinion, and it's probably a bad opinion, is that the more creative you are, the more successful you're probably going to be in the next 10 years, maybe even beyond. Those soft skills are going to be very valuable because AI is going to be able to do those hard skills. But having those soft skills of empathy and authenticity and vulnerability and integrity, all those things that really make a great leader are very important when it comes to AI also. Because those prompt engineering and those things that you're doing and writing and trying to figure, it's creativity. It's just thinking about the process that you're using and going through and putting it into words and then doing it again and then doing it again and then fine-tuning the outcome. So when I say put your data in, don't put your data in, put a little prompt, hey, give me trends and successes and opportunities, and then boom, it spits it out and be like, okay, this is great. Go. No, because one, everybody knows you're doing it because it reads all the same. I haven't seen the word bespoke more in my life than I have in the past 2 years. And then people are like, oh no, I used to use bespoke. No, you didn't. You did not use the word bespoke. Don't call me that. Don't call me that. I don't know what it means.
Good question.
Do you think that it's important to try to optimize the prompts for the different AIs, or generally one prompt should work?
No, yeah, they've said that. Yeah, I think you know the answer to that question. Yeah, no, you do not. And it comes down to, I don't even think you should use the same prompt for the same LLM.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be,
Right.
You have one piece of data that's different and you're thinking about it. Use your mind, be creative, and just think, oh, you know what, let me think about it this way. And it's, because the more you do that, the better the outcomes are going to be, the more you're going to get it. And then use that to create, like she was saying, Kayla was saying, create a ChatGPT, create your own GPT, create your own jam, create your own things, and then you fine tune those. Because as you progress, you're gonna get different documents, and then you're gonna update your documents. Don't forget to update your documents. I've done that. And then you come out with bad data. You're like, wait a minute, that's not real. Oh, that's just me. So those things are important.
Just add one thought to your question, which is a non-AI answer. At the end of the day, pick your use cases that matter. End of the day, you start to experiment on a bunch of things, effort dissipates, right? Over time, the time just goes. So pick things, I think you said it at the top, understand your business and see where is it that you have a lot of manual work, repeatable manual effort that can be automated. And then go ask, then start to, experiment, look at LLMs, all of that from that context. But if you don't have that context of what problem you're trying to solve for your business, then all these tools just, are toys at the end of the day. So just make sure you understand what value means. And at some point, I think, start asking the question when you're having planning discussions and trying to hire new people and things like that, what can AI do? And what is the human going to do? Because human is still needed, but there's a lot of repeatable tasks that can be automated.
Before you jump into that real quick, is that one of the questions we ask when we're consulting for a profit business is, what's your biggest pain point? Where are you spending most of your time? Where are you spending most of your money? Because when you find out where they're spending most of their money, that's probably where their biggest pain point is. So as a nonprofit too, where am I spending most of my time? Where's all my money going? And then from there you can say, can that be automated or can AI help with that? And the answer probably is 50% of the time, probably can't.
We have one last question. I think this session, no one was monitoring me, which is bad. But we have another
Nobody
question.
monitors Beyonce.
Going in the same line of limited resources, and I think you have talked a little bit about it, but nonprofits needs to hire people, and that's really difficult right now. And if we are confronting ourselves with AI and all this sort of stuff, what skills are we supposed to be looking into this hiring things?
Tech skills.
Yeah.
That they can communicate well. It's my theory that if you struggle with communication, you're also going to struggle with AI. Right? Like if you don't know how to have a standard conversation with a person, it's literally you having a conversation with your worker and telling them how to do things. My best example is someone feeding a AI a 7-page prompt and it was like, it didn't do anything I said. I'm like, yeah, you probably wouldn't either, right? You probably checked out halfway through the first directive, right? It's the same way. So if you're hiring someone, I would make sure that they at least have a basic level of technology skills to operate a Microsoft suite or operate a Google suite, right? And that they can communicate effectively what they're supposed to do, because when you put an AI in front of them, right, it should not be that hard. It may take a little bit of training, a little bit of prompting, but not a whole bunch as I need to sit down and teach you how to open up email, right? Like you don't want to hire those people. And so I want to make sure that everyone knows that with the hiring. That's one of the things that we struggle with a lot with the nonprofits we work with, is that they want to hire the community. And when I say the community, you know who I'm talking about, right? You need to hire people that are going to be thought leaders, right? That are going to help you push it, especially if you are volunteering individuals. There are people out here with good hearts that will volunteer their soul to make your organization work, but you've got to make it so that they feel like they're getting something out of this, right? But that goes into your storytelling, that goes into your impact. I would much rather work with an organization that tells me that they're saving Rottweilers from I don't know, from dog fights, right? And we've saved over 10,000 Rottweilers. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll work for them. Rather than someone says, oh, we're stopping dog fights. I want to know how, right? Like, what are you doing? You going in there and breaking it up? Like, I want to know what you're doing. So make sure you're clear on your job description. Make sure that you're telling them exactly what you're going to require of them, and you'll be able to get the right people.
I'm just gonna one thing I know I'm adding stuff is that, and for the for-profit world as well, is that you want to hire good people, and that's a hard thing to define. But you need to hire people, and you need to ask questions that is based off your culture, because you want people that are willing to learn. You want people that are hopefully empathetic and caring about what your cause is. But you need to get a feel for them. And I know we don't all really pay attention that much, but you should pay attention to your gut. You're like, talk to people. Is this person somebody that I'm vibing with, right? Because that 15, 20, 30 seconds might be the only interview you need to do, right? So yes, you need some sort of skill sets, but you don't need an MBA, right? I mean, you
Right,
don't need a
right.
doctorate. You don't need probably even a graduate of college. You probably,
Right.
there's a guy out there, John Selber, you guys know who he is from Next Gen? He didn't graduate high school.
Mm.
So my point is like, don't look at the paper, look at the person.
Right.
And that's important in my opinion. If you get somebody who's willing to learn, willing to be a team player, willing to hustle, and loves what you're doing, you can teach them to code. You can teach them to ChatGPT some crap, right? So that's mine.
I know I learned a lot. Do you want to add?
Yeah, real short, just to kind of add on to what's been already said. I mean, some things that I look for as I hire someone is someone who solves more problems than they either identify or create. So someone who's gonna, like, that's, you know, the building is on fire. Hey, Clarence, the building is on fire. That's not helpful.
We all got those people too. It's
Yeah,
like, hey,
so, yeah, exactly.
you could have answered that question.
So problem solving, and then also just like a natural curiosity, and then probably lastly, like someone who seeks to work smarter and not harder. And so as we kind of talk about like adopting